Bibaa and Nicole, my girls, they planned the picnic together.
It's the story of two innocent girls planning a simple picnic, unaware that their day would turn into a nightmare.
No one could have expected what was going to happen.
The police haven't turned up.
You should never be the one to find the person you love dead when you've reported them missing.
We're 36 hours behind a potential scene.
It was harrowing.
I've lost two of my daughters in the worst of circumstances. What on earth could be worse?
It jeopardised the whole investigation.
Early June of 2020, when the world was still struggling through the uncertainty and isolation of the pandemic, two sisters in North London made a simple decision that would become the beginning of an unimaginable tragedy. Bibaa, Henry, and Nicole Smallman, full of energy, warmth, and creativity, planned a quiet, outdoor gathering to celebrate Bibaa's birthday. They did what families everywhere were attempting to do during that period: to find joy, connection, and humanity in the middle of a difficult and often frightening year. The restrictions meant indoor gatherings were limited, so they chose the vast, open space of Fryent Country Park, a place with greenery, winding paths, and a sense of freedom that had become rare. Their friends joined them for a relaxed evening in the meadow, taking photos, sharing food, and enjoying the warm weather. As night settled, their friends drifted home, leaving the sisters together in the park. They decorated the area with small fairy lights, which cast a soft glow over the grass and trees around them. They took pictures that captured the magic of the moment, photos later discovered on Nicole's camera and phone that showed the two laughing, dancing, and simply enjoying each other's company. These images would later become some of the most heartbreaking and poignant pieces of evidence in the entire case. What nobody around them knew, not the family waiting for them, not the friends who had just left, not the community that would soon be shaken by the story, is that the final hours of their lives were already set in motion. Because somewhere far away from that moment of joy, a young man had been preparing for something horrific. Not out of anger, not out of revenge, not because he knew the sisters or had anything against them personally. His motive was something far stranger, darker, and more disturbing. It was tied to a belief he had cultivated almost entirely online, a belief in demons, magical contracts, supernatural rewards, and the violent idea that bloodshed could bring him wealth and power. That young man was 18-year-old Danyal Hussein, and what he believed he had set out to do was nothing short of a sacrifice. Bibaa and Nicole were last seen alive around midnight. When they didn't return home the following morning, their absence immediately alarmed their family. Their mother, friends, and Nicole's partner began calling their phones, which rang without answer. Messages remained unread. Hours passed with rising fear and frustration. Attempts to report them missing were met with dismissive suggestions, claims that they might have simply taken time to themselves, or perhaps stayed out late and would turn up soon. But neither Bibaa nor Nicole had any history of disappearing, and both were responsible, reliable women who would not simply vanish without contact. Their family knew something was wrong. Eventually, unable to wait any longer, they organized their own search. Nicole's boyfriend returned to Fryent Country Park, retracing the steps the sisters had taken during the birthday celebration. As he walked through the grass, he recognized the area from the photos they had taken that night. He noticed personal items on the ground, things that belonged to the sisters, and, as he pushed deeper into the overgrown vegetation, he came upon something no loved one should ever have to discover. Hidden in a tangled section of undergrowth, he found their bodies. The discovery shattered their entire world in a single moment, and from there, everything began to unfold with devastating clarity. Police arrived quickly and began to secure the area. What they found was horrific. Both sisters had been stabbed repeatedly in a sustained, frenzied attack. Bibaa had suffered multiple deep wounds, and Nicole had been subjected to even more extensive violence. The brutality of the attack suggested unrestrained aggression, determination, and a complete detachment from empathy or humanity. The sisters had clearly fought back, and the nature of their injuries indicated a chaotic, prolonged struggle. One detail, however, stood out. Among the blood at the scene were droplets that did not match either victim. This unfamiliar blood formed a trail leading away from the bodies, cutting through the tall grass and shrubs toward the park's exit. That trail would later become one of the key pieces of evidence in the investigation. Detectives began reviewing CCTV footage from the surrounding area. The search quickly revealed something unusual. Multiple cameras positioned near the entrances to Fryent Country Park recorded a lone figure making his way toward the park on the evening of June 5th. The person appeared young, with a distinctive walk and clothing that matched what investigators would later confirm belonged to 18-year-old Danyal Hussein. More importantly, as the CCTV timeline continued past midnight, cameras captured the same figure limping away from the park, moving with difficulty, and appearing to be injured. He was holding his arm against his body, as if attempting to control bleeding. These images, combined with forensic analysis of the blood droplets found at the scene, eventually pointed directly to Hussein, but the most disturbing part of this case wouldn't be found in the park or on the CCTV footage. It would be uncovered inside Hussein's bedroom during a police search weeks later. Investigators found handwritten pages tucked into a drawer, pages that seemed unbelievable even to experienced detectives. They had the form of a contract, written by Hussein himself, promising severe acts of violence in exchange for supernatural rewards. In the document, he claimed he had entered into a pact with a demonic entity. He promised to kill women, to perform multiple sacrifices, and to shed blood in exchange for wealth, power, and protection from being caught. He wrote about winning a lottery jackpot and about the entity ensuring that no law enforcement agency would be able to identify him. The pact was signed in what appeared to be his own blood. Investigators also found another similar document addressed to a different so-called demon, in which Hussein promised acts in exchange for love. These writings were not jokes. They were not creative fiction. They were deliberate, ritualistic, and aligned with what he believed he needed to do in order to receive the rewards he sought. A deeper look into Hussein's online activity revealed a disturbing pattern of behavior. He had been active on occult forums, including communities known for encouraging extreme practices and strange forms of demonology. One forum in particular, infamous for its discussions around so-called magical rituals, blood pacts, and spiritual entities, appeared to play a significant role in Hussein's thinking. Members of these communities often spoke in dramatic, theatrical language about summoning spirits, making sacrifices, and gaining supernatural powers. While most users treated the forum as a kind of role-playing environment, others took it far more seriously. Hussein was among those who did. His search history showed that he was actively researching topics such as how to make pacts with demons, how to build altars, and how to carry out sacrifices. He read posts discussing the supernatural benefits that supposedly come from harming others. He immersed himself in increasingly dark ideas, becoming more isolated in the process. As detectives continued to investigate, they discovered CCTV footage from a supermarket where Hussein purchased knives, gloves, and other items used in the attack. This occurred just days before the murders. The footage showed him calmly walking through the store, collecting the items with deliberate intent. It was a chilling contrast to the horrific events he later carried out. Additional CCTV footage captured him on the night of the murders, traveling toward the park, and again, as he limped home afterward. After leaving the park following the murders, Hussein did something so bizarre and disturbing that it became one of the defining elements of the case, despite being injured from the struggle with the sisters. Badly enough that he had left blood behind, he went home and immediately purchased lottery tickets. He genuinely believed that carrying out the killings had fulfilled his part of the pact, and that supernatural forces would now reward him with wealth. His belief in this fantasy was so strong that he acted on it within hours of taking 2 lives. When police finally arrested him on July 1st, 2020, Hussein refused to cooperate with questioning. He denied involvement, provided no explanation for the documents found in his room, and remained emotionally flat throughout.
Do you have any injuries?
Yeah.
So the wrists from the cuffs?
No.
Oh. How did that happen? How did that happen?
Sorry?
How did that happen?
Is this the interview?
No, that's a question. How did the injuries on your fingers? What happened there? Okay, don't worry.
I was getting a lot.
Don't. Any medical conditions? Asthma, diabetes, blood pressure, heart conditions, anything like that? No.
I thought this was an interview.
You don't need to be. The questions are asked to everyone that comes into custody.
So you're writing down my just
It's alright, just listen to what
I thought you were supposed to do an official interview before asking me the actual question.
You will be interviewed later.
Recording the information.
And what this is at the time, it's you just being booked in. Yeah. Okay. Any mental health issues? Any mental health issues?
No.
Have you ever tried to harm yourself? How do you feel right now?
I'm really shocked, to be honest. I'm really confused and scared. I don't know what's going on.
As he was being arrested for the murders, Daniel blurted out, quote, "Yeah, that's near my grandma's house," in reference to the crime scene location. When he was taken to Wandsworth police station and later questioned, police asked him how he got the injury to his hand, which he replied that he had been robbed. But after finding a mountain of evidence to go against him, he was eventually charged with the murders of both Bibaa Henry and Nicole Smallman. He pleaded not guilty to the charges that were brought against him.
But the physical evidence was overwhelming. His DNA matched the trail of blood. His movements on CCTV aligned perfectly with the timeline of the murders. His purchases matched the weapons used, and his writings revealed the disturbing mindset that drove the attack. The trial that followed provided a comprehensive picture of Hussein's actions and motivations. Prosecutors laid out the evidence methodically, the pact he wrote, the injuries he sustained, the CCTV footage dating his travels, the supermarket purchases, the lottery transactions, the forensic analysis, and his digital footprint. They described how Hussein believed he had made an arrangement with something supernatural, and how this belief had emboldened him to commit murder. Although Hussein was young, the court determined that his actions were calculated, planned, and deliberate. His belief in the demonic pact did not absolve him of responsibility. Instead, it demonstrated the extreme nature of the ideology he had embraced. Mental health evaluations found that he did not have a psychotic disorder, meaning he understood the nature of his actions. His violent obsession stemmed not from hallucination or delusion in the clinical sense, but from deeply held beliefs he had chosen to align himself with during the aftermath of the murders. The family of Bibaa and Nicole endured not only grief, but also an additional trauma. it was discovered that 2 police officers assigned to secure the scene had taken inappropriate photographs of the sisters' bodies and shared them privately. This acted as another blow to a family already pushed to the limits of human suffering. The officers involved were later prosecuted and jailed, but the emotional damage caused to the family was immense. Their mother spoke widely about how this betrayal compounded the pain of losing her daughters and reinforced the need for systemic reform. As the trial concluded, Hussein was convicted of both murders and sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 35 years.
Has just been handed down at the Old Bailey to a man who murdered 2 sisters in a park in North London last year. Let's go straight to Sky's crime correspondent Martin Brunt at the Bailey. Martin.
Yes, Danyal Hussein, who is still only 19, was 18 at the time of these murders, has been given a minimum life sentence of 35 years.
The court's decision reflected the severity of the crime, the planning involved, and the disturbing ideological motivation behind it. The case sparked discussions about the dangers of online radicalization, not only in political or religious extremism, but in fringe occult communities where vulnerable individuals can be encouraged to take dangerous ideas seriously. Hussein's case became a chilling example of how isolation, online influence, and unchecked fantasy can combine to create catastrophic outcomes. Beyond the legal and investigative aspects of the story, the memory of the sisters remains the central, most important part of this tragedy. Bibaa Henry was known for her kindness, her work supporting vulnerable members of the community, and the loyalty she showed to those around her. Nicole Smallman was a vibrant, young woman with artistic talent and a warm personality that made her unforgettable to those who knew her. Their family, friends, and community continued to celebrate their lives, focusing on the joy they brought into the world rather than the horrific circumstances of their deaths. Their mother has become a vocal advocate for change, working to improve the way missing persons cases are handled and speaking openly about the failures that occurred during the early hours of the search. She has pushed for accountability, reform, and public awareness to ensure that other families do not experience similar neglect. Her strength, resilience, and determination have inspired many, and her dedication to honoring her daughters' memory remains unwavering. The case of Bibaa Henry and Nicole Smallman stands as one of the most shocking and unsettling crimes in modern British history, not because of the brutality alone, but because of the disturbing motive behind it. The idea that a young man could be driven to kill by a belief in supernatural bargains, shaped by the darkest corners of the internet. It serves as a reminder of how vulnerable individuals can become entangled in destructive ideologies, and how dangerous it can be when fantasy becomes intertwined with real-world violence. As time passes, Fryent Country Park remains a peaceful place, visited by families, walkers, and nature lovers. But for many, it has become a symbol of remembrance. The area where the sisters last celebrated together is often visited by those who wish to pay tribute to their memory. Flowers, notes, and tributes continue to appear, placed by people moved by their story and by the strength of those they left behind. The tragedy of their deaths continues to resonate, reminding us not only of the fragility of life, but also of the importance of recognizing the warning signs of harmful online influences. It challenges society to consider how isolated young people can become immersed in dangerous digital subcultures, and what can be done to prevent similar tragedies in the future. Ultimately, the legacy of Bibaa and Nicole is defined not by the actions of their killer, but by the love, resilience, and unity shown by their family and community. Their story continues to be shared, not as a tale of horror, but as a reminder of the value of compassion, vigilance, and remembrance. Their lives were bright, full of meaning, and deeply cherished, and long after the details of the criminal case fade from public memory, the impact they had on those who knew them and the lessons learned from the tragedy will continue to endure.